Welcome to another episode of Inside the Inferno. I'm James Malamas, joined by Belkora. Ray, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Happy to be back at the anchor desk, and we've got a great show in front of us today.
A great show and a jam-packed show today. We have basketball, softball, baseball, all great content today. So let's not delay any longer and get right into it.
In the leadoff spot, we have an update on ASU baseball. Ashlyn Register and Olivia Eisenhauer have more.
The ASU baseball season started last weekend with a home opener series against Sacramento State. If their pitching is any indication of what we will see this weekend, Olivia, we're in for a treat.
Yeah, you're totally right. I mean, the three starting pitchers for the Sun Devils and Cooper Benson, Tyler Thornton, and Eric Tolman allowed only 2 runs, striking out 20 and just walking 2. In addition to this, each side just allowed a single in their appearances. Thornton questioned the press after Saturday's matchup too, like, how could you not be confident with the defense that backs him? I mean, Kai Murphy dove over the bullpen fence to catch a foul ball. I mean, could you ask for more?
I don't think we can, and as we can see, the defense and the pitching were near perfection, but the Sun Devils really need to step up their offense this weekend against Hawaii. They had a really slow start, even with only 3 RBIs by Drew Swift and a home run by Kai Murphy. The offense was only able to put up a combined 7 runs for the first home series, and Sacramento State only had 6, so they really need to narrow that margin, and they need to step that up against Hawaii this weekend. But a way to help with the run production is to limit the amount of runners stranded. But I'm very excited to watch some baseball this weekend for sure.
Yes, this is also the opening series for Hawaii as they arrive in the Valley of the Sun to take on your 2-1 and 15th ranked Sun Devils. You can watch all 3 games, including Saturday's doubleheader on Pac-12 Plus live stream and over the airways on 1060 AM. For Ashlyn Register, I'm Olivia Eisenhauer, and we're going to send it to Ashley Engle for your weekly rundown.
Thanks, Olivia. This weekend, ASU will be hosting the most sporting events out of every school in the country, hosting 22 in total. With several teams ranging from men's hockey and women's water polo, the Sun Devils are ready to play and compete. Men's hockey is in Ann Arbor this weekend, playing against number 8 Michigan Friday and Saturday. Not only is the men's hockey team traveling, but ASU track and field are in Colorado Springs as we speak, competing in Champions at the Peak from Thursday to Saturday. Women's tennis is also on the road in Houston, Texas to compete in a match against Wichita State. With some Sun Devil teams traveling, we have a ton of teams that are here in Tempe for the event-filled weekend. We have baseball playing against Hawaii this weekend at Phoenix Municipal Stadium, as softball is playing 5 games this weekend against New Mexico, Oklahoma, Portland State, and Iowa State. Women's soccer and women's water polo are both competing against USC this weekend in Tempe. And men's tennis is having a match against Washington. Ryan, there's so much more going on here in Sun Devil country.
And speaking of softball, the team is off to its best start since 2017, currently sitting at 6-0. For the Sun Devils, it has been a combination of hot bats and electric pitching. 5th-year senior Maddie Hackbarth has been tearing it up, leading the team in slugging percentage, along with a team-high 4 doubles, and being one of 5 ASU players with 2 home runs. To put those numbers into context, she's only been at the plate for 16 at-bats this season. Other key contributors on offense have been Danae Chapman, who leads the team in RBIs, Allie Tatnell, who leads the team in batting average, and Jasmine Hill. On the pitching side, it has been freshman Allison Royalty, who has made her mark in the circle early on this season. So far, she leads the team in wins with 3, 20 strikeouts, and an earned run average of 0.51. In her first 2 career starts as a Sun Devil, both of them have resulted in complete games. Looking ahead, the Sun Devils look to continue their blazing start to the 2021 season as they hit the diamond 5 times this weekend, including matchups against the 2nd-ranked Oklahoma Sooners and the number 25 team in the country, Iowa State Cyclones. Back to you guys at the desk.
The Sun Devils women's basketball team currently sits at 10-9, and their season is quickly approaching the end. In a strange year, they've had 7 of their Pac-12 games postponed and never truly found their groove. Their last conference game is this Sunday against their rivals from down south, the Arizona Wildcats. I'm now joined by Inferno Intel's women's basketball reporter, Conor McGill. Conor, what have you seen from this team this year?
Yeah, thanks, James, for having me on. We have seen this team at their best and ultimately at their worst. As you mentioned, several of their games are postponed this season, and compared to a regular season, they haven't had a lot of time to practice. The team really hasn't had the time to ultimately hone in on the skills that a team would normally hone in before the season started up. Their offensive game has been all right. They haven't been shooting the best while they have rebounded fairly well against their opponents. They're a young team, but regardless, though, this season definitely hasn't played out the way that many hoped it would have.
And how do the Sun Devils fare in this rivalry matchup coming up?
Well, James, both teams are coming off losses, while the Wildcats do come into this matchup with a bit more momentum, currently ranked number 9 in the country and second place in the Pac-12 Conference. The last time these two teams faced back in December, the Sun Devils struggled to defend the Wildcats and couldn't get into an offensive rhythm. If they want any chance in winning this game, they're going to have to defend right out of the gates and hope that shots fall in otherwise. And I mean, too, you got to think, this is a tough game overall. This is the last game of the season before the conference tournament. They got to play lights out in this game to take the momentum into conference play, James.
Yeah, and you mentioned conference play with the Pac-12 tourney right around the corner. What needs to be done for this team to make some noise?
Yeah, the amount of time between the end of Sunday's game and the start of the Pac-12 tournament is not that much. We're talking 2 days here. Not a lot of time to create big change. If the Sun Devils can do anything, though, I really think it's going to start with them leaving the season behind and taking it as a brand new season. You know, let's take it like any other game. But more importantly, this is a win or go home game. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Sun Devils will do heading into the tourney.
Thanks, Conor. You can find all of Conor's work and women's basketball coverage at infernointel.com. Now let's send it over to Ray.
To the men's side we go, and for more we bring in Inferno Intel basketball reporter Adam Noel. Adam, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Ray. Happy to be here talking some ASU men's hoops.
The Sun Devils are coming off an 80-72 win against Washington after demolishing the Huskies on Tuesday night. What turned things around for Bobby Hurley's squad this week?
Man, Ray, I think it was a really tough weekend the week before, going against the California schools and really blowing that lead against UCLA. So it was the turning point of the season, I think, for ASU, getting 2 consecutive wins against Washington. And that Tuesday night game, they won by 30, and they controlled the game the entire way. That's something we haven't really seen out of Bobby Hurley and this ASU squad this season. So I think being able to dominate on Tuesday the way they did and then come back and win a close game on Thursday, I think that really spoke volumes, especially with as many injuries and COVID-related issues that the team has had this season.
Is there any one player who has stepped up as of late for ASU?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be the senior Kamani Lawrence. He hasn't really been known as a scorer during his 4 years at ASU, but suddenly he stepped up big for the Sun Devils in the last 3 games. He actually just had a 2020 game, first of its kind since 1997 for the Sun Devils, and he's also averaging 20.3 points per game, 13.7 rebounds per game, and shooting an outstanding 73% from the field. Those are absurd numbers, and pairing that along with the typical 20 points a game you get from Remy Martin, that senior duo has been outstanding for the Sun Devils.
And looking toward a busy final week of the regular season, what can the Sun Devils do to improve their outlook heading into the Pac-12 tournament?
Well, I think it's already improved just from this week. Coming into Tuesday, they were slated at the 10th seed in the Pac-12, and they've already improved it all the way to the 8th. And that will depend on these last 4 games for ASU. They have Wazoo coming up and the 3 rescheduled games next week. So if they're able to win 2 or 3 of those, I think that really will bode well for their seeding. And a lot of people have been looking at ASU now as a team that's a kind of a dark horse coming into this Pac-12 tournament. And although they haven't had a top to bottom regular season and been consistent all around, this is really the best time for them to be playing their best basketball, and they're also going to get a lot of help if Josh Christopher and Marcus Bagley can rejoin the team ahead of the tournament.
Adam, thanks so much for joining us. You can check out all his content and more at infernointel.com. Let's go to Nicholas Hodell and see how the Pac-12 is shaping up for March.
Thanks, Ray. Even though Arizona State has not had its best season, the Pac-12 Conference is on course for good representation in the state of Indiana for the NCAA tournament, with 4 teams currently projected in the field of 68 in the bracket matrix, a combined bracketology based on projections from over 100 different projected brackets. Leading the conference is USC. The Trojans are projected as a 4 seed in the latest bracket matrix, thanks in part to a clean resume with a top 25 ranking in the net rankings. Colorado, Oregon, and current Pac-12 leader UCLA are well below the Trojans, but are safely projected in the field of 68 on the 8 and 9 seed lines. However, another team in the conference is directly on the bubble with plenty of work to do if it wants to join the party. Stanford is currently the second team out in the latest bracket matrix projections. But despite no losses in quadrant 3 or 4, the Cardinals are just 2-4 in quadrant 2 with a losing record in quadrant 1 as well. With games against Oregon State and California remaining on the schedule for now, Stanford will have to win until the Pac-12 tournament to stay alive in its hopes to join the Pac-12's best for the return of March Madness.
Now we check in on the news of the week with Inferno Intel headlines. Today I'm joined by Keith Dottley.
Thanks for having me, James. All right, so let's kick things off with former Sun Devil guard Luguentz Dort. You knew him at ASU as a driving, athletic player that loves to get to the rim, but he's been embracing his three-point shot. As you see here, the game winner against the Spurs for the Thunder, and he celebrated by being mobbed on the floor by his teammates. We love to see that for former Sun Devil pros.
Yeah, and undrafted free agent, now starter, hitting game winners, great journey to see.
Yeah, he always had potential, but he's finally capitalizing on it, it seems like. So now we're going to move on with James Harden. We all know that he's one of the greatest Sun Devils to ever play and probably the best NBA player of the bunch. He made his 9th All-Star game selection over the weekend, and that's second in ASU history with Joe Caldwell at 4. Great accomplishment for Harden.
Yeah, Harden in Western Conference for most of his career. Now in the Eastern Conference, still making All-Star games, so impressive to see that from him.
Yeah, and there's going to be great things coming from him the rest of the year too as the Nets enter a playoff push. And then lastly, we have ASU baseball with third baseman Hunter Haas making an absolute web gym play as he made the diving grab to get the ground ball and then slung it over to first base off his butt for an out for the Sun Devils. And as you see here, amazing play by Haas.
Yeah, baseball season getting in full swing. Really love to see that. Thanks, Keith, so much for joining us today. And now let's take a look at ASU soccer with Ray.
Arizona State women's soccer dominated non-conference play, finishing 4-0. The Devils are now scheduled for 12 games against their Pac-12 foes. Our soccer analyst, Nick Zeller-Singh, has more on their early success and prediction for Pac-12 play. Nick, what did ASU do well, and what do they need to improve on in Pac-12 play?
First of all, ASU was great with widening the field and creating channels in the opponent's half. When they opened up these channels, they averaged 20 shots per game. However, they are failing to execute. The Sun Devils had 32 corners and a handful of free kicks in their first 4 games, but they have capitalized 3 times with all those chances. So if they want to compete with the Pac-12, they must capitalize on the free chances that other teams will hand them.
Who has stood out the most in the first 4 games?
Well, after being a reserve for her first 2 seasons, Olivia Wynn has been a star for the Sun Devils in these first 4 games. With Nicole Douglas being marked each match, Wynn has stepped up and destroyed defenses with her pace, and it has led her to 4 goals and 2 assists for the Sun Devils.
And what should we expect from the Devils in Pac-12 play?
Well, the Devils are still a young team that is finally finding their footing in the Pac-12 conference. Although they are expected to finish dead last, I see the Sun Devils capturing around 3 wins and finishing around 10th or 11th in the Pac-12.
Thanks, Nick. You can find Nick's work along with others at infernointel.com.
That will do it for this edition of Inside the Inferno.
Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to our next chance to get back in the studio.
Until then, you can find all our content and coverage at infernointel.com. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at InfernoIntel. For everyone here, thank you. Until next time.